KFYI, the Mike Broomhead Show.
You heard the breaking news. They're going to add fuel to the fire, but we're going to take a few minutes before we get to that. We've got United States Senator John McCain here in the studio. Welcome this afternoon. It's the Mike Broomhead Show.
I got a message. I got a song. Can I get a witness? Tell me what's going on.
Thanks for joining us here. And just for a few minutes, I know this is very, very busy days for you. And Senator McCain, thanks for joining us in the studio.
Well, thanks for having me on, Mike. And could I just mention our prayers are with the family of the deputy who you just reported was shot. Sheriff Paul Babu of Pinal County will point out to you that Pinal County and Casa Grande, because of the interstate, is sort of like a funnel where the drugs and the illegal smugglers go right through Pinal County. And they have borne a lot of the brunt of this, and our prayers are with the family of the deputy who, according to news reports, has been shot. Another argument to secure the borders.
Yeah, and that's the argument. I think that's where it's going to add some fuel to the fire, because I think that most people in Arizona, the battle lines have been drawn, for lack of a better term. The people that like this bill like it. The people that don't. And if the people are on the march tomorrow, I don't know that there would be much of an uprising against them. I don't think so, but I do get concerned when this happens, because when cops get shot, people take that personally, and it's a bad situation when that's happening.
They do. I'm deeply disappointed in Congressman Grijalva, who has called for a boycott. Now, I think it's important for us to look at that and what would happen. You know, the majority of workers in our hospitality industry in Arizona are hotels, restaurants, etc. Who is employed there? A large number of Hispanic citizens. So why would someone want to harm the economy of a state whose one of major industries hires people who are Hispanic? I mean, it seems to me it's cruel to do something like that to hardworking people who happen to be Hispanic citizens. So a lot of funny things are going on in this whole debate, but I want to emphasize again, John Kyle and I have a 10-point plan to secure the border, which we'll go into. Second thing I want to emphasize is that the reason why, in my view, the legislature and the governor acted is because the federal government has not acted. John Kyle and I, a year ago, had a hearing here in Phoenix where we talked again about the violence on the border and called for the Guard to be at the border. And despite what anyone alleges during the presidential campaign, I said we have to secure the borders first. That goes all the way back to 2008. So, but the important thing here is that people understand that, and I've had some people interpret this law, and they made some changes last night. As far as I can tell, there is no violation of civil rights of anyone, of the rights of anyone, because has to be a situation where a crime or alleged crime is being committed before that person can be apprehended. In other words, if you're not wearing your seatbelt and a law enforcement officer sees you, he can't stop you. But if he stops you, say for speeding, and sees that your seatbelt is not on, then he can issue a citation. That is not, in my view, racial profiling. And I would resist anything, I think all of us would, not want a law passed that entails racial profiling. But when you have, crossing our border, last year, the Tucson sector, 1.2 million pounds of marijuana. 1.2 million pounds of marijuana, okay? 241,000 illegal immigrants crossed the Tucson border. Not the whole border, the Tucson border. You figure they catch 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 5, okay? That's over 1 million people. No wonder our wildlife refuges are destroyed. The people in southern Arizona do not enjoy the same sense of security that people in the rest of the country, including the limousine liberals in New York City and Washington, D.C., and they deserve those same rights.
Well, so let me ask you this. Let me clear something up, because what we hear, and we hear it all the time, we hear everything. You hear, okay, John McCain talks tough about the border in an election year, and the word amnesty is always tied to John McCain. And I hear what you're saying about the length of time you've been saying secure the border first, and it's a federal responsibility. So then why do you think that word is still tied to you, and what is the federal government going to finally do now that Arizona's made everybody this angry?
Well, first of all, I can't explain except maybe for political advantage, but the fact is that I have called for securing the borders first. I was in Mexico July of 2008 talking with President Calderon, who said at that time, I'm in an existential struggle with the drug cartels, and things have changed since 2007. In fact, 22,000 Mexicans have been murdered in this war against the drug cartels. If there's the wrong election coming up, and it's coming up soon in Mexico, and the wrong guy wins, you're going to see a situation that was same as in Colombia before Uribe became president, and that is they'll just look the other way and let the drug cartels do what they want. Can you imagine what a threat that poses? So this is a serious issue. I've been involved in this serious issue for a long, long time, including prevailing upon the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee to come to Phoenix, Arizona, and have a hearing over a year ago, because of this issue of violence on the borders. And again, John Kyle and I had said at that time, get the guard down on the border. Why is that important? Because the Mexican drug cartel people, the only thing that really intimidates them is a person in uniform. And the guard could play a significant role while we emphasize the other 9 points, which are also to get 3,000 additional troops, a border patrol. And finally, in 2006, Governor Napolitano asked for the National Guard. Now we can't seem to get her to send them.
Well, and I want to ask you about that, because I have a friend that was in the Guard recently, and part of that Operation Jumpstart when they were down at the border. I want to ask you, because he made an interesting point to me. We got to take a break. When we get back, okay. I want to ask you about Guard on the border, and then the follow-up, when they're down there, when they leave, what's left behind. I would like to ask you about that. We're going to spend a few minutes here with Senator McCain. We have you till the bottom of the hour, correct?
Yes,
All right,
sir.
One more segment with Senator McCain, and then a few more questions for him, and then we'll grab some phone calls from you. Don't go away.
Mike Broomhead, News Talk 550 KFYI.
KFYI.com.
All right, the Mother's Day special I've been telling you about all week. Yes, Mother's Day is here. Many of you took advantage of what I talked to you about on Valentine's Day, and that's Pro Flowers. They got the freshness guarantee. They are the best in the business. Nothing tells your mother that you forgot about Mother's Day than grocery store flowers on Mother's Day. Now, they have... Thanks for being here this afternoon. In studio with me is United States Senator John McCain. Now, Senator McCain, when we went to break, we were talking about the border and the need for the Guard on the border. And I mentioned that I have a friend who's in the Guard, and he made a point to me that I'd never considered. But he said Operation Jumpstart, when we went to the border, when Governor Napolitano had the Guard at the border, when she was our governor, he said we were all for it. We helped them secure the border. We were supposed to help the Border Patrol get a handle on the border and then turn it over to them. What now happens when we send them back to the border? Then what happens if we bring them out, if we don't leave behind what's necessary to keep it secure?
Well, Mike, that's why John Kyle and I have a 10-point plan, 3,000 Guard, 3,000 Customs and Border Patrol, and that takes time. There's an Operation Streamline. I don't know how many of our listeners are familiar with it, but it's a minimum that they put people who are illegal border crossers to jail for 15 to 60 days. That has a very salutary effect. $100 million for Operation Stone Garden. That's to help the local police and grants, reimbursement, etc. Hardship pay to Border Patrol agents. 700 miles, complete the 700 miles of fence in high traffic areas particularly, and that means sometimes a 2 to 3 tiered fence in the urban areas. It works. Double and triple layer fences work. The UAVs are only flying during the day now. You got to fly them 24 hours a day. You need to have surveillance systems throughout. You need to have radio communications and interoperability. Larry Deaver will tell you, the sheriff of Cochise County, that they can't communicate with the federal and other law enforcement agencies. Border Patrol stations in the Tucson sector, we need more of those. 6 permanent additional forward operating bases. Get them closer to the border. These people and ranchers that live real close to the border, it's terrible what they're going through. And reimburse the state and local governments. And we need more magistrates down there to process these people who have come illegally. You know, one of the statistics that's kind of startling, could I finish up by saying that of those 241,000 that I mentioned came across the Tucson sector, according to Sheriff Larry Deaver and Paul Bebu, 17% of them had committed crimes in the United States before. So the image of what the crosser is
right.
sometimes not substantial. And the cruelty of these coyotes, the cruelty. I hope that when Reverend Al Sharpton, when he comes to Arizona, will talk about the cruelty that the coyotes inflict on these people. It's terrible. Remember the thing we busted a couple of weeks ago? They transported people in vans up to Phoenix. They put them in drop houses. They mistreated them, held them for ransom, and then distributed them across the United States. By the way, some people came from as far away from as China. So, look, we got to get the border secure. I've been saying it for a long, long time. People can say that I didn't, but we'll be glad to send anybody the facts. We'll send them the facts. We have documentation. And the fact is that this state law is something that's been done out of frustration. And it's not surprising to me, and I don't think it surprises you, that some 70% of the people in Arizona think that this law is appropriate because they don't think we have secure borders, and we don't.
And many of them are Hispanic. That's the part that I wish the rest of the country knew. You can't get to 70% of anything in the state of Arizona without a large number of the Hispanic community being on board with that. There's no way.
No.
So why is it – I'm going to ask you to maybe guess here for a minute because – why is it now that I know that in Washington they begin to talk about immigration for at least a short time? Why is it when you hear the word immigration there, we hear this comprehensive immigration reform that starts with what are we going to do with the people that are here illegally? Why don't they focus on the border?
Because their problem is that they want to do it all at once now. And we can't do that with an unsecure border. I'm for comprehensive immigration reform after. We need a temporary legal temporary worker program. We need it down in Yuma to pick lettuce and to do other work. But the point is that if you don't secure the border, then and you have all the rest of it in, and people keep flowing across the border illegally, and drugs keep coming across the border illegally, but people come across it, then what have you accomplished? All you've done is gotten another generation or large group of people who have come across our border illegally. You get the border secure, then you can address the other aspects of immigration reform. And everybody knows that if you, well, not everybody, but that what the Democrats are trying to do right now is get some political advantage because they should know, although Chuck Schumer is, from New York. He's the same guy, by the way, that wants every container that comes into New York Harbor inspected.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, we got to get I'm sorry I keep being repeated.
No, that's okay.
There are ways we can secure the border. There will people who will say you can't. You can. And you can do it with fences, surveillance, and with sufficient forces and Border Patrol, et cetera, men and women who are serving to keep our border secure. You can do it. The Yuma sector is dramatically less than the problems in the Tucson sector because they've made great progress in the Yuma sector.
Okay, last question. Let me shift gears. Now, we know that earlier this week your opponent in the primary filed his papers to be a candidate, to be a certified candidate, and you have said that you will debate any certified candidate. Now we know Jim Deacon is another certified candidate.
Sure.
Can we look forward to debates between you and the other certified candidates in this race?
I will certainly consider it, and then they will be certified is what they have to be. It's not the same, but I will certainly consider it. I won't do what then Congressman Hayworth did back in 1996 when his opponent challenged him to debates, and he just said it was desperate and refused to debate his opponent then.
Okay, so it gets certified, so JD becomes a certified candidate. We know that Jim Deacon is already a certified candidate.
Actually, none of us have been certified because the Secretary of State has to make the certification.
But once that happens, then you're welcome whatever the debates might be.
I would certainly give it some consideration, depending on the venue, depending on a lot of factors.
I say we do it here.
I don't feel it. I don't feel it's mandatory in any way.
We'll just do it here. We'll just have you come in. We'll have the candidates come in, and I'd be open to that. Okay, I always appreciate the time when you're with us because I know that there's so much going on, and right now Arizona with Shakira coming to town, and every comedy show is blasting us as being this racist state. But I'm glad you're saying that 1070 was born out of frustration. But you actually have read the bill and said
everything that I know about it, and they made some changes again last night, as you know, and I think it's been improvements and more clarification about that there would racial profiling is expressly prohibited, that everything I've seen that this legislation is appropriate for the situation we are facing of unsecure border and a terrible situation here in our state.
Okay. All right. Well, Senator McCain, I know that you have another appointment you have to get to, but I always appreciate seeing you. You're welcome back anytime. Hope to talk with you soon.
Thanks for having me on. There's a lot of other things going on in the world, but I understand that this is something that the people of Arizona are focused on.
Absolutely. All right. That's United States Senator John McCain joining us. Back in just a moment.